Hey gang, Craig Ripley here. Welcome once again to Living Off the Slab. So today what we're going to start is a little video series on my plans for 2019. And in particular, what we're going to do is break this down into smaller segments on how to plan that big motorcycle trip you've always been wanting to do, that trip of a lifetime, so to speak. Before I get into all of this, first let me say that there is no one best way to plan a trip, right? Whether that be by car, by motorcycle, by RV, there is no one way to do it. In fact, I don't think there's any one way to do anything in this life, right? Everybody tells me that there is this best way to do it, and I always seem to find another way that works equally as well. And I've been doing that all of my life, and I'm sure many of you do the same. Now, I bring this up because I know that every time I do these videos, I get people that tell me that they don't plan because planning takes away from the adventure, that an adventure should be just this raw, visceral experience with hardship and suffering and all this kind of stuff in it. Again, that's great if that is what you are looking for, right? But personally, I'm not looking to have real hardship on these trips. These are vacations for me, right? These are experiences that I want to enjoy. So to illustrate my point, let me point you to Sandman Accom, right? He is a guy that took an 8-year journey around the world on his motorcycle, started off going into Africa, and had an absolutely amazing adventure. However, there were some real hardships along the way. In fact, there was one place where he actually ended up running over somebody. The guy ended up losing his leg, and Sam went to jail and was almost raped. So this is not a hardship that I personally want to experience. I don't know about you. How many of you want to get thrown in jail and almost raped, right? It makes for a great story, but it's not something I particularly want to plan into my trip or to my adventure. So again, while planning or not planning is completely up to you, right? I'm just going to tell you what I like to do, and I'll tell you why I like to do it. Right? I am personally a planner, and I do that for several reasons. One, I find it enjoyable, right? It gets me jazzed about the trip. It helps me to learn about the areas that I'm going to go to and also find the places that I really want to see. Because if I didn't do that research and didn't check them out, I might just ride straight by them. And I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that I maximize the limited time that I have while out there on the road. Because let's face it, we all admire the person who can just hit the road and live on their own for month after month or year after year, traveling around the world or just traveling around the United States, right? But most of us just do not have that time. Most of us have families, most of us have responsibilities, and we have to do things 2 weeks at a time or maybe a month at a time, right? So we need to maximize and make sure that we're not going to just waste the time that we have available to us. Also for me, I want the adventure to be traveling down an amazing, twisty or scenic road. I want the adventure to be the beautiful places that I see and the amazing people that I talk to and meet along the way. I don't want the adventure to be trying to figure out where I'm going to stay for the night, right? That isn't an adventure to me. That's just tedious. I've actually had people on this channel tell me they don't worry about where they're going to stay. They just pull over alongside the road and stay wherever they can. Some of them even say that they stay underneath highway overpasses with the homeless people, or they go into a big city and they just sleep on the street because nowadays the homeless people are protected and they can do that without being hassled. And again, that's great if that's really what you want to do and that's really the kind of experience that you want to have. But again, for me, that's just not it, right? I want to enjoy this experience and just have a good time on the trip, not worry about finding those tiny little essentials of life. All right, so with all of that said, here is my plans for 2019. At least this is what I am starting with. This is my dream trip. I am turning 60 years old in 2019, so I want to do a big trip all around the United States. In fact, what I want to do is spend 60 days on the road celebrating my 60th birthday. So to start this process of planning this big trip, what I did was identified all the places across this country that I have never been before, or places I wanted to go back again, right? And I made a list. Right? And then I identified them on a map so that I could start making up my route. So those places included traveling down into the Carolinas, going to Wheels Through Time Museum, going down into Alabama and going back to the Barber Museum, stopping and seeing my parents and family in Texas, right? And then moving on to Santa Fe, New Mexico, moving on to Las Vegas, going to Zion National Park, Arches National Park, Canyonlands National Park. I want to go and ride the extraterrestrial highway, and also I want to go to Death Valley and then make it all the way out across the Angeles Crest Highway, maybe do Mulholland Drive and end up in Santa Monica, California. From Santa Monica, I want to head up the coast of California, cross the Golden Gate Bridge, visit some of the amazing redwood forests that we have up there, and then I want to head up to Crater Lake, right, and then go back into Idaho, do Lolo Pass, back into Missoula, go into Spearfish Canyon and see Deadwood and see Mount Rushmore all over again, right? And then just make my way home from there, probably heading up into Canada and then back through Vermont until I get back here to the Boston area. So all in all, linking all of those places up that I wanted to see, it comes out to about a 12,000 mile trip. So about the same as we did when we went up to Alaska and back. But this time I want to do it over a much greater time period. For Alaska, we did it in 35 days, and this time I want to take 60 days. I want to limit my daily mileage to somewhere in that 200 to 300 mile range. A couple of days are going to be longer just because I have to do some interstate time to get from one place to the other. But most of the time, I only want to do 200 to 300 miles so I have time to see things, to stop and talk to people. And because I'm probably going to be doing a lot more camping this time, I want to get in early so I have time to set up my campsite and relax. And then in the morning, I don't have to be worried about getting out really quickly. I can relax, pack up my bike before I hit the road. So after making a list of all of these great places, what I did was I let Google Maps, or my mapping program, which I use the My Route app online, and I let it link all these places up for me and give me the suggested routes. Now, these aren't necessarily the routes that I am going to take. What I'm going to do after I created this general map with all of these places is I'm going to go back into each one of the segments, right, those 200 to 300 miles a day, and then I'm going to edit that particular segment. Right? I'm going to find the best roads, the routes that I want to go down, not what Google tells me, the places that I want to see on each and every day. Right, so that's going to be our next process. Right, so for now, we've just got this general overall dream, this general overall plan of all the places that I want to see. But now the next part of the process is going to be going into each individual segment and creating a route that is specific to what I want to accomplish. And we will get into that process of doing an individual segment the next time that I do a video here. But for now, I want to say thank you to everybody who supports me in any way that you see fit. And there is a number of ways that you can do that include buying a t-shirt, buying from Twisted Throttle by linking through my website, buying a little ebook, or even becoming a Patreon. I appreciate each and every one of you. And please give me some comments in the video if you want to know certain things about this process as we go along. All right, guys, thanks. We'll talk to you next time.